Welcome to the Prep Hoops Circuit Show, one of three. We're starting in the Minneapolis region with the Hard Work region. I am your host, Matt Reynolds, here with you for the next hour as we're going to go through every single one of the brackets. Every single one. We'll start with 17U, work our way down, and what's special about this show is we're going to also get insight from players, from coaches, as well as Scott Burgess will join me at the end of the show to break down what his thoughts are on the bracket, as this is an intriguing 17U bracket, 16U, and even you go down to 15U. There's lots of talent in this region, so it's going to be very exciting to see who comes out on top and is the one true champion of the Hard Work region. Well, let's get right to it. We're going to start, and these brackets just came to us moments ago, so I haven't even had a chance to break them down a whole bunch. We'll start with the 17U bracket, and in the Hard Work region, this is a loaded region. I mean, you look at the 64 teams. We'll start with the number one seed, and that is Peoria Area Elite. Pee Wee has had an awesome year for them. When you look at everything that he has been able to do, he has made sure that we know the name Pee Wee Brown for Peoria Elite. They're playing a tough team in full package. Yes, they're the 64 seed, but when you look at that, there's a lot of teams that even missed out from these top 64 seeds. Full package is a great program, and they're not going to just lay down in that early game. Hoops Intensity Training will face off against Indy EBC in 32-33 matchup. This is as good as it's going to get in any of our brackets, as even kill as it goes. These two teams are matched up right where they should be, and that one is going to be a tough game to get into the Peoria Area Elite game possibly, or who knows, maybe we'll have a 164 upset. We've never done this before, so this is the first year, so it's going to be exciting to see just how this thing goes. Mentality Minnesota will face We're Out the Net in a battle of two teams that know each other very well in the 1748 game. Wisconsin United facing the Illinois T-Wolves is one I like as soon as I saw this bracket at the 1649 matchup, because the Illinois T-Wolves can play it at a little higher level than that 49 seed. We've seen them upset some teams that are a little higher. We've seen them play down to competition. So it's going to come down to how they are playing on that very day, on opening day on Friday night. All these games will be played Friday starting at noon all the way through Friday night. We go down to the 9:56 matchup with the Iowa Mavs Cleveland squad. Been one of the squads that we can consistently count on. They're going to bring it each and every week. They'll face off against BBA Force Bartlett, and you can bet this Bartlett squad, when you get all those Dakota kids together, there's one thing I've noticed. They play together, they play well, and it's going to be an exciting game. The 24-41 matchup is Team 1848 in Chicago Lockdown. Lockdown has a ton of D3, D2 prospects on their squad, lots of size and length. Team 1848 brings some nice guard play as well as a few bigs. So this one's going to be one that, although it's 24-41, I think this is where we start to see there's some close matchups. If this was the NCAA tournament, this would be like a 7-10 matchup somewhere along those lines, and we all know that those are always great games, and we see the 10 upset the 7 all the time. The Illinois Bears will face off against Wisconsin Hoops Select in another similar matchup to the 7-10. This one would be more like the year 8-9 matchup in this region. And speaking of 8, we go down to Minnesota Matrix, who's one of my favorite teams that I've been able to see throughout this spring. I mean, they really brought it. Jacob Jennison is a big fella for them that I love watching him play, and they will be going up against Minnesota Select. Always a group that you know they're going to bring their best each and every time. As we move to the next quadrant, we're going over the 17U bracket in the Hard Work region. And the next quadrant we'll go down to, we'll start with the 4 seed, Wisconsin Rap against the QC Ballers. Wisconsin Rap is coming off a huge, and I do mean huge, victory in Chicago, winning the 17U bracket. They are legitimate contenders. This is a 1-16 matchup here where you see typically in the NCAA tournament, the QC Ballers are that last 16 seed at the 61 spot. They've got a great shot though here, because if they play to their competition, you never know. I mean, this could be one of those games. We've seen the big upset in the NCAA tournament, and it will be very interesting to see how it sorts out in this particular bracket, as this is the closest 16 seed we have in the entire tournament. 29 seed is the ET21 Buckeyes going against Jerry Gamble FAB. We've seen the Buckeyes really come out, make some Elite 8 appearances, And that's what I'm looking for them in this tournament. This is a possibility for them to really push the brim and get into an Elite Eight, maybe something that they're not expected to do as they're just inside the 30 mark there at the 29 seed. This is going to be a game where they have a lot to prove. The 20-45 matchup is Minnesota Fury Cattlemen and Minnesota Heat Presby. This game is one of those matchups when you look in the NCAA tournament and you have the middle tier seed, a 6 seed going up against the higher seed, where you still see a lot of upsets in those 6-11 matchups. Indiana Legends against UTS Elite. UTS Elite, a team out of Michigan that has really started to blossom towards the end of this spring. I'm looking for big things from them. And Indiana Legends, well, what can we say? They've been very consistent, as has the 12 seed, the Northern Lakers, with Next Generation lined up out of Illinois. The Northern Lakers, it's funny, I've talked with their program a lot. They call themselves the Northern Lakers, and let's just say they deal with a lot of snow at all times. And I've been sent pictures, and it's been very enjoyable to get to know them very well. And Next Generation's not an easy foe, as we saw Next Generation in the Chicago tournament take the top seed down to the last 5 minutes of the game, actually leading. They did end up falling in that one, but this is a team that can push a good Northern Lakers squad to the brim. Iowa Dynasty is the 21 seed in the hard work 17U region with Full Package Dimitri. Full Package Dimitri comes in at 44, and I know a lot of people will say, oh, in these higher seed games, I wonder who we could pick over. I like Full Package Dimitri a lot, just because of what they are able to do. They're well coached, they share the ball well, and they're going to be a tough team to beat in this bracket. The 28 seed is Wisconsin Academy Knoll, matched up with a 37 seed Minnesota Magic. This is one of those 7-10 type of games where you could see it go either way. Minnesota Heat Vang is the 5th seed, the 2 seed in this particular quadrant, as they are going to go up against the Illinois Badgers. It's that 2-15 matchup you traditionally see in the NCAA tournament. Minnesota Heat Vang, very, very well coached. Disciplined is how I best describe that squad, with a ton, and I do mean a ton of talent. We move to the next quadrant as we are going through the 17U hard work region. And we go up to the 2 seed in the entire tournament. One of my favorite teams, and I got to see them a lot this spring. That's South Dakota Attack. Matthew Moore's unbelievable prospect. He's going to be able to put on a show that we know. ABC Young Lions is who they will match up against. Wisconsin Crusaders get Michigan Transition in that 31-34 matchup. That's going to be anybody's ball game right there in the 8-9 matchup. All-In Williams versus the Illinois Bears. This is a game, look out. The Illinois Bears have started to generate some momentum. They're coming off a big weekend 2 weekends ago, and interested to see if they can keep that momentum going into this finals event. NBA basketball against Team Iowa is the 15-50 matchup, followed by RWA at the 10 spot against Minnesota Lightning. RWA, if you would have told me before the year, I probably would have projected them a little higher, which means they are a dangerous, dangerous 10 seed. They have so much talent that if it comes together at the right time in this last event, they're a true contender to win the entire thing. The Chicago Demons come in at 23 against the Michigan Goonies. This is one of those 7-10 matchups, 6-11 matchups in that range where you could see anything happen in one of these ball games, as is the IBA man squad going against Fundamental U. Fundamental U traditionally plays really well in the biggest moments, and this is going to be an interesting test for them going against IBA, such a good team early on. And last but not least, in this quadrant, we have the Minnesota Rise, the 7 seed, going against the Illinois Blaze. This is a game where Minnesota Rise is a team that has established themselves, so they're going to bring it each night. They're going to play at a high level, but to beat the Illinois Blaze squad, they're going to have to really bring it. And our last quadrant for the bracket of the 17U features the 3 seed, and that is the Minnesota Fury Zern squad, filled with talent. They've got Nate Heisey on that squad, who is a really, really good point guard. Charlie Katona, one of my favorite players on the wing that I've seen. He is certainly big time. South Dakota Network is who they will get in the opening round, and they will be met after that by Gateway, Illinois, or Young and Reckless Denard. We're getting ready here a little bit to be joined by Young and Reckless, and when you look at this bracket, they fill it. Young and Reckless also coming in at the 19 seed to face the Iowa Mavs. And the 14-51 matchup is Minnesota Select and All In coming out of the state of Illinois. Minnesota Heat West against Minnesota Lace-Up Black. I love this matchup primarily because in the 11:54 matchup, you get to see a game where we're going to see two teams that know each other. They're very familiar. They've seen each other a ton. They're two Minnesota squads that neither of them wants to go home in the opening round and is going to be inspired to get to the next round where they would see a Wisconsin Stars elite squad or Inspired Athletics. That one could be one of the closest matchups we see in those 6-11 games. Southwest Illinois Jets, a very dangerous squad. Look out for them. They have some playmakers, especially at the point guard spot. TNT 5 Iowa Prep is who they will meet in that opening round. And last but not least, Team Factory Gold, a squad loaded with talent when you look at everything that they were able to accomplish this spring. I'm looking for big things, and they'll face the Minnesota Comets. That right there, my friends, is the 17U bracket. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more coming up to break down the 17U bracket. We'll give you some highlights, some of the top teams that we expect to do some really big things. But like I said, what is wonderful about this whole bracket is we don't really know what's going to happen. This is the first year we're putting 64 elite teams in this bracket, and they're going to battle it out to the finish. There's not as much separation in a typical 1-16 matchup in this tournament that we've seen in the NCAA tournament. There's not a whole lot of disparity. There's going to be some very, very fun basketball played, and I'm really excited to see it. We'll take a break, and we'll be back with more after this. Welcome back to the Prep Hoops Circuit Bracket Release Show. We are previewing the Hard Work Region 17U, and when we're talking about 17U, Young and Reckless is loaded in this tournament, not just 17U, but all the way down. Joining us now on the line, we have Aubrey Denard. Aubrey, appreciate the time, my man. Let's start with this. As a program, what has been the key for you all to have such great success throughout this spring?
We just can see talent. We got a staff full of guys, good trainers, great. I think some of the best trainers in Chicago. We just got a good eye for talent, and we got a great eye for development. We develop a lot, work real hard with the guys in the gym, and I think that's where it comes from, just hard work with these guys getting on the court and getting in the gym.
Who are the players that you have seen take those big steps of development this spring that are starting to blossom that as we start to reach the last week of the season coming up next week, you're saying, hey, college coaches, hey, this guy, he's starting to blossom and this is someone you should know?
Well, we got a lot of those guys this year, but one that stands out the most is 6'10" Martise Mitchell. He's blossoming. He's 6'10". He's hitting threes, putting the ball on the floor. He's creating plays. He's taking dribble handoffs, dunking on guys. And, he's really his stock is getting up there. It should be nationally. So.
Last but not least, and we will let you get out of here, as I know you are out at a tournament actually coaching away right this second, so we really appreciate the time. What's it going to
absolutely.
take next week? This is a bracket of 64 teams in each age. It's very, very tough when you get to a 64-team bracket to get all the way through it. And not to mention, you're going through a lot of really tough teams. What's it going to take for success for next weekend?
We just got to make sure the guys play together, share the ball. When you have so much talent, we have two young and reckless 17Us. When you have so much talent in the program, sometimes, guys know they can take their man one-on-one, but that's just not good for team chemistry. So, and it's just not good for helping you win a game. So we try to tell the guys to focus on defense first, getting defensive stuff together, and just letting your talent shine and blossom after that. Everything will flow when you have natural talent like they do.
Aubrey, thanks so much for the time, and we'll see you next weekend.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for the call, guys.
That was Aubrey Denard of Young and Reckless joining us on the line there. We appreciate his time as always. We'll continue to be joined by coaches, players, as well as scouts throughout the remainder of the show. Let's continue previewing the 17U bracket as there is a lot of talent. And I want to show you some highlights of what I saw the top teams. Now keep in mind, there's a lot more teams out there in this bracket that are super talented. We just have time for a few that I was able to see out at events. And, this is very, very interesting bracket when you start at the top. There is a lot of talent, and you'll see it very early in these highlights. Let's go ahead and roll those, and we'll start with the very first team you see here. It's right, it's Peoria Area Elite, a group that has really performed very, very well all season long in what they've been able to do. It starts with Pee Wee Brown, who you just see scoring the ball there and driving for the tough bucket. These are highlights from St. Louis where they came and were able to finish very deep in the tournament. They won the Indy tournament. Pee Wee, as you can see, shares the ball well, and they've got some shooters on the wing. This is a group that is athletic, is fast, can move the ball, and do so many things, and it all starts with Pee Wee Brown. Colleges out there, if you don't know who Pee Wee Brown is, I highly recommend checking him out. Next weekend, the gym will be full of Division II, NAIA, JUCO coaches, Division III coaches, and I can tell you now, Pee Wee Brown is going to be able to play for a lot of different people just with his ability to finish, get inside, his athleticism, and the moves that he's able to make. Now this team, there's more than Pee Wee there, as you can see. They do a lot of different things. They're going to be tough. Another really fun team to watch is Minnesota Fury. I mean, the talent is endless on this team. Charlie Katona on the wing is one of my favorites. Nate Heisey, who you see there with the ball at the point guard spot, dishing it out. I mean, they have so many players, and these highlights are coming to you from Madison. Nate Heisey there with the dunk. This is Charlie Katona. Charlie Katona is a guy that I feel is super underrated for what he can do. He can drive, he can dish, and they have got a lot. I mean, it's a bunch of guys that play together. They sound fundamental basketball, and we know that they're going to be one of the tough teams next weekend because they've proven it week in, week out. No matter who they face, they're going to give everything they've got, and they're ready to show that they feel they're underrated and have been undervalued. And you start to see the college offers come in for Nate Heisey, for Charlie Katona, and many others on this team. I mean, there's a reason why the offers are coming in. They're able to do a lot of positive things, and I expect them to make a run in the prep hoop circuit. Next up, we have Minnesota Matrix. Jacob Jennison is where you got to start. That's who you saw there, the big fella walking down the court. When you talk about a big spring, this fella has had a big spring. He is a dunking highlight. Everywhere he goes, expect big things. He's going to bring it and in big fashion. But it's not just him. He's got lots of teammates that are going to be able to share the ball, get the ball to him, and keep in mind when they try to go against the big fella and say, all right, we're going to double team him. I've seen it time in and time out. What happens next? Well, they double team, but at the same time, it doesn't always work because he's able to kick it out to the wing, and they've got a lot of talented shooters. And that jump hook that you just saw there at 6'11", I'm sorry, you're not going to have much great success being able to stop that whatsoever. Talented group. Minnesota Matrix is a team that I know they're not the highest seed in this tournament, but I expect them to make a very deep run due to the athletes and the talent that they have on their roster. Last but not least, we've got South Dakota Attack with Matthew Moores manning the middle. You see him there with a massive jam. You see the Wisconsin head coach, right there watching him. There's a reason. There's a lot of head coaches watching him at the Division I level. This team starts with Matthew Moores, and you can continue to go throughout. They've got a ton of talent, but I mean, you see Matthew Moores right there. That's just unreal athleticism. I mean, what are you supposed to do against that? Good luck boxing them out. Whoever's playing them throughout the weekend. Start with Matthew Moores. That's the first thing you should see on the scouting report. But he's not the only thing. I mean, they've got lots of talent inside as well as more size than just Matthew Moores, and he's not afraid to go dunk on you. So if you want to be on a highlight, on the bad end of a highlight, Matthew Moores may be a guy you do not want to get in front of, and he can play a little defense, as you see there. They're a group that can really stretch the floor with their shooting, and Matthew Moores, you're seeing a lot of him dunking, but he really can do a lot more, handling the ball, shooting the ball. There's a lot of different aspects that he brings to the program. Those are some of the top 17U teams that I personally was able to see over the spring, really enjoyed, and I expect them to make all deep runs. Like I said, there's many more. We just had a limited number of time for each of these highlights, but I got you a few that I was really impressed with throughout this spring. Next, coming up, we are going to start into the 16U bracket of the Hard Work region. And as we start to look at the 16U bracket, I mean, this bracket to me, it is one of my favorites, maybe of any bracket in the hard work, the grind, or the hustle region because of all of the talent within it. Let's start in the first quadrant of the bracket. When you look at this opening bracket, you have to start with a team that has put on an absolute show every single weekend. Team Factory. They have been unbelievable, and it starts with the guy who is running the show for Team Factory, Chucky Hepburn, one of the top point guards in the country. They will face Peoria Area Elite in the opening round game, and they will be met by possibly either of those teams. Whoever wins will see South Dakota Venom or Iowa Intensity. The 32 and 33 matchups, that's the best 8 and 9 seeds in the entire tournament, the best 8-9 matchup that we have in this bracket. 17 seed is the Wisconsin United squad going against the Michigan Hoyas. Michigan Hoyas surprised me earlier this year in a game I was able to see them, so look out for that one. That one could be a possible upset one. Wisconsin United will have to bring it. West Central United follows with BBA Force. Who knows, maybe we get a United matchup in that second round if Wisconsin United and West Central United can both win. Illinois Jaguars are your 9 seed, and this is a group that has really blossomed this spring. They've surprised. They've been a group that you have to really take into account to possibly even win this tournament, as they are a top 10 seed entering, facing the Minnesota Comets Kitchener squad at the 56 spot. The 24 and 41 spot are taken by, you got to start with Hoops Intensity. They are very, very good squad out of Illinois, facing Minnesota Lightning at that 41 spot. 25 is the Minnesota Select Robinson against All In out of the state of Illinois. They are always a group, no matter how many. You'll see a lot of all-in teams throughout this 17, 16s, and 15U bracket, and they're all very, very tough. We're Out the Net rounds out this quadrant against the Kentucky Defenders. And I love this matchup because the Kentucky Defenders coming all the way from Kentucky, and they're looking to show that they can play with the best of them. We'll move to the next quadrant here in the hard work region bracket for the 16U. And coming up next, we start with the 4 seed, the top 4 seed. As you look at Wisconsin Playground Club, they're coming in as a 1 seed, but the last 1 seed in the bracket, facing Minnesota Heat Fleury, who, you know, Minnesota Heat is always going to be a disciplined basketball squad. They have a very good program top to bottom, and that one is not going to be any cupcake walk from the get-go. Illinois T-Wolves and the Southwest Illinois Jets is my favorite matchup in this set that we will see throughout any 8-9 matchup, because I like the Illinois T-Wolves a lot. At the same time, I really enjoy watching the Southwest Illinois Jets and the way they are able to attack the basket. That one is going to be one of my favorites to watch in the opening round in this particular bracket. The Work Foundation and Indiana Red Storm will face off in the 20 to 45 matchup there. 13-52 matchup will meet the bottom side here as we're getting towards the bottom half of this quadrant. It'll be South Dakota Attack facing the Indiana Soldiers. South Dakota Attack has had a very good run this year. I mean, they're a top 15 seed in both 17s and 16U. They're not going to be any slouch. The Indiana Soldiers, though, are looking for that massive upset. Wisconsin Crusaders and the Minnesota Rise will face off in the 12-53 matchup, followed by Team More Athletics and Wisconsin Academy. Those two winners will meet up in the next round. Minnesota Lightning will match up with the Chicago Demons, and the winner of that gets the winner of Y&R. We just talked to one of their head coaches, and they will face Indy EBC. Moving to our third quadrant in the 16U Hard Work Region bracket, we move up to the number 2 overall seed, and personally, I like Chucky Hepburn's squad a lot with what they're able to bring at Team Factory. But I'm telling you right now, this Minnesota Heat Tower squad is loaded with talent. I mean, loaded. They'll face Michigan Transition in that opening round. That's a 1-16 matchup, and it's the second 16 seed with the second overall seed in the entire tournament in Minnesota Heat. D1 Minnesota Prospects and JH1 Elite out of Wisconsin will get the winner of that first round game. Oakland Elite, Indiana Dogs, followed by Michigan Goonies and the Illinois Future. Those two will match up outside after that first round. Though 2 winners will get each other, as well as the 2 losers will get each other in the consolation. Minnesota Fury Poppin goes up against South Dakota Network, followed by All In Athletics and BC Swag. Let's start with the Minnesota Fury game. This is a team that, do not underestimate them. They're a team that when they walk out to the floor, they don't necessarily have the intimidation walk off the bus factor, but as you start to play them, you realize, oh crap, this team can really play. And in the same respect, South Dakota Network is a lot like that as well. They're not super intimidating to necessarily look at, but you look at the talent they put on the floor, and day in and day out, they produce really, really well. All In Athletics and BC Swag, whoever wins that game will have their hands full in the next round. Minnesota Magic and NBA round out this quadrant with Y&R Jeremy and the Illinois Badgers. We move to our last quadrant in the 16U bracket for the Hard Work region, and that's where we get, that's right, the team out of Ohio, Team Flight, that has been the surprise of the 16U bracket across the country for me personally. I didn't know a thing about this team going into it, but I tell you what, I've learned a lot about them as they will play the Michigan Majors. The Michigan Majors are a tradition-rich program out of Michigan. They will have their hands full with Team Flight and all the athleticism that they have on that squad. Iowa Dynasty matches up with RWA in a very intriguing 30-35 matchup. Once again, in the NCAA tournament, that's your 8-9 matchup. So this is going to be a really, really good game that we're going to get to see in that opening round. Capital City Teamwork faces Wisconsin Rap in the opening round, and the winner of that game will get the winner of Southwest Illinois Jets and Motion Elite in the 14-51 matchup. ABC Young Lions Teal will face against North Dakota Phenom, and I'll say this, ABC Young Lions, one of the biggest surprises as well to me, just with their program, how well they're ran, and the way they've been able to put a good product on the floor week in and week out. They will face a tough North Dakota Phenom squad. Indiana Game Chema will go against Downriver Bad Boys in the 22-43 matchup, followed by Minnesota Fury and Minnesota Heat. This is 2 programs that meet all the time. I'm not sure if these 2 particularly have met, but I know that the top 2 teams nearly have met a couple of times over this season. It's always fun when you see a Fury team go against a Heat team. Get your popcorn ready. ABC Young Lions Black is your 6th seed. This is a team that I'm telling you, watch out. They could do some damage and actually turn out and win this whole thing. They're the 6th seed for a reason. They'll face Iowa Mavs Fisher, who will not be an easy team to defeat whatsoever. Let's continue on. We'll move into some of the top teams I like in the 16U bracket. And as you see these highlights, it's going to become very, very clear who that young man is right there on the screen. Chucky Hepburn, ladies and gentlemen. The man can put on a show. He can do it all. That's right. He can jam it. No, he's not the biggest guy, but look out below. He can bring it. He can drive to the rim, off the glass with beautiful touch. The way this young man finishes is very impressive to see. Oh, by the way, yeah, he's got some teammates as well that can do some things. They have a very talented group, and what makes them special is the leader they have at the beginning. It's Chucky Hepburn. Chucky Hepburn, not only can he score the ball well at all 3 levels, as we've seen him jam it, we see him shoot the mid-range there, and we've already seen him shoot the 3 a few times. He can do all that, which is wonderful. But he has good teammates around him, and he gets the ball to his teammates in great spots, and his teammates are set up for success And lo and behold, it tends to work out pretty well when your main dog and is getting the ball to your teammates. Speaking of getting the ball to your teammates, how about that jam right there from Andrew Morgan? The Minnesota Heat squad is going to bring the fire all weekend long. This is a group that I really enjoy watching just because of the way they share the ball. Plus, you see another jam there from Andrew Morgan. They have so much firepower and they have bigs. Look, I'm from Oklahoma. We don't have a lot of big guys like this. I get it, Minnesota, there's a lot more, but I'm telling you right now, that's what makes this team so special. When they go around the country, we've seen that they've been able to have success in large part because they're able to get the ball inside. They have not one, but two or three big guys that are able to use their size, elevate, or sometimes, hey, they don't have to dunk it. They're able to just get good shots. And they've got good, tough guards. See, they're a nice drive and finish to the hoop. I love their guard play because not only can they shoot it a little bit, as you see there, but they drive it and they can finish it, or just like that, they can dump it down for the big slam. Next squad we will feature is Team Flight out of Ohio. I talked about this group very early on. This is a group, when I look at them and everything that they're able to do, I think that in the long run, they are going to be a group that is the surprise, not just for me, but for a lot of people. They've got good play down low, but they can also do some other things at the guard spot. You see that they get the ball inside to their big fella. This is not just a one-game occurrence. This has been a thing where they have proven it time in and time out. They're athletic, they run the floor, they get the job done each and every game, and I expect them fully to be a team that when we look at this bracket, they're not coming to just, oh, we're going to place in the Elite Eight, we're going to do this and this. No, they're coming to win the entire thing out of the state of Ohio, and if they don't, they'll be a little bit, I would think, upset. And that's because they're so talented as a group, and you see they like to have a little fun there too. Last but not least, one last program that we will highlight here, and there's a lot of different talent in this 16U bracket. It's South Dakota Attack. South Dakota Attack over the entire spring just shot the ball lights out with this group. And what I love about this group is the balance. They have so much balance on this team that it's going to be tough to slow them down because there's not one guy, there's not two guys, there's not three guys. No, there's 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that can go off on any given night and give their team a big boost. And that is what makes them a special, special group that we're seeing make big strides in this circuit. They're a top 10 seed, top 15 seed, I should say, right there on the cusp. And yes, they're a little bit outside of that top 1, 2, 3 in the bracket, yet they're a team that you have to really say, all right, we have to watch them and be careful because they're a group we have to take into account. Well, that was our highlights from the 16U bracket. Last but not least, the very last bracket I have for you is the 15U bracket, and it's coming up next year. We'll go ahead and get it rolling in the Hard Work region. It starts with the #1 overall seed, and that's, when you look at this bracket, it starts at the top with a lot of talent. Wisconsin Playground Club, they actually get a bye in the opening round. They will get the winner out of Hoops Intensity and Iowa Dynasty in the 32-33 8-9 matchup there. South Dakota Attack faces Iowa Mavs. That winner will face Illinois Blaze or the Illinois Jaguars. I love that 16-49 matchup because we get an in-state rivalry that is going to be a fun one between the Blaze and the Jaguars. The 9:56 game, a very intriguing one, Wisconsin Crusaders and the Illinois Attack. Crusaders come into this as one of the most intriguing teams outside of that top 3 that I haven't talked about yet. They're a group that you should watch out for. 24 spot is RWA facing against Minnesota Fury, followed by the Illinois Bears and Pharaohs in the 25-40 matchup. And closing out this quadrant, it's Hobson Elite out of Kentucky against Epic Hoops out of the state of Illinois. Fun one there. And we move to our next bracket where you'll see there's multiple teams that get a bye here. Team Factory Gold is one of them. They'll face the winner of Y&R and Wear Out the Net. Young and Reckless has been a team that is progressing week in and week out. We had one of their coaches on earlier, Aubrey Denard, and he really talked about the development and how they've grown, and they have grown a lot. Look for some big things from them this weekend. 20 and 45 matchup is Wisconsin Crusaders and M14 Hoops out of the state of Illinois. They will get the winner of D1 Minnesota prospects and full package. Full package, always a program that you have to watch out for. And I say that because I know they're a 52 seed, but you still have to be careful there. The 12 spot goes to Minnesota Select Davis. They will face Wisconsin Academy, followed by Southwest Illinois Jets going up against the Work Foundation in an Illinois matchup right there. And the last three teams in this quadrant, it's Minnesota Rise, Wisconsin Rap. Whoever progresses to the next round will get Minnesota Fury Wild, which is the 5th overall seed that has an opening round bye in the 15U bracket. Moving up, and we will talk about the number 2 seed in the tournament. Getting ready to talk with one of their coaches here coming up shortly. JH1 Elite Ohio is the number 2 overall seed, and you're going to see something pretty special here in the next quadrant after this one, but we'll hold as they will take on the winner of Wisconsin Scholars and M14 Hoops. Chicago Demons and Hoops for Health is your next first round matchup in the 1847 slot. 15 seed NBA is a team that I know, once again, they're not in that top upper echelon, but it's like we've talked a lot about in this show. They're a team that I'm telling you, watch out for. They're going to be able to do some damage in this tournament facing the Illinois Tigers in the opening round. South Dakota Venom, love the way they play as a program. You know what you get out of this team. They're going to be consistent. They're going to bring it each and every game. They will face Team Iowa in the 1055 matchup, followed by the 23-seeded UTS Elite squad out of Michigan. UTS Elite has a lot of positives from this year. This is one of their groups that I really see a bright future at that 15U age as they continue to progress up. They'll face the Gillette Spurs. In the last two in this quadrant, it's the ET21 Buckeyes squad going against Hype Athletics and Team Flight Ohio, a program that has 2 teams. We just talked about their 16U group. They've got 2 teams in the top 10, and this is one of them facing Minnesota Heat. Kevin Grow, by the way, works for us, so shout out to him and his squad at that 58 spot. We'll move to the next quadrant, and last but not least, I mentioned there would be a surprise here, something to look out for. Here it is. The 3 seed, JH1 Elite, out of Wisconsin. Their program, now I have 2 different sectors. One in Ohio, which is your 2 seed in this bracket in the 15U, and one in Wisconsin, which is the 3 seed. Pretty impressive that they're the 2 and the 3. If they match up, it will be in the semifinals. I'm sure that they wouldn't mind matching up in the semifinals. Hey, that means they've had a really good weekend, both of them. Plus, it means one of them's getting into the final matchup there for the championship in the 15U. Jayhawk Attack and the Midwest Wildcats, the winner of that, gets JH1 Elite, followed by Minnesota Heat McDonald and DM Elite in the 1946 matchup. 14 matchup versus 51. This is a game where you see a lot of different things that could go Minnesota Lightning's way. I mean, it's shaping up where it looks like, yes, they're the heavy favorite, but this is a game that's a little tricky because Minnesota Heat always bringing some tough intensity to the court, and if they get hot shooting, look out from that 51 seed. Team Future 2022 squad will face North Dakota Phenom, followed by Oakland Elite and ABC Young Lions in the 22 and 43 matchup. Last but not least, the winner of Capital City Teamwork and Team 1848 will get Wisconsin Playground Club Basketball Black at the 6th spot. Wisconsin Playground has had a great year, and they will get the bye, and we'll see what they do with it. We'll take a quick break, as I know it's a lot of information. Matt Reynolds here with you. It's Prep Hoop Circuit Bracket Release Show. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have our next guest on the program. By the way, you saw the graphic at the first break, and you'll see it in the second one. Slam dunk and three-point contest. Look for those on Friday night. It's going to be a blast. Voting has just now opened. You can vote on prephoopcircuit.com. There's a lot of players to vote for, and let me just tell you, it is going to be exciting. I don't know who we're going to get in those matchups. We'll get 5 lucky contestants in each one of them. I'm going to tell you, no matter who we get, it's going to be a blast filled with so much talent, whether it's the dunks that I'm sure we're going to see some quite impressive dunks. Get ready. Whoever is in the final matchup, we will let you know those on Wednesday of this week. And then, hey, it's on the players. You got to prepare. Three-point contest, a little bit easier. I mean, hey, just go out there and shoot the ball, right? We'll take a break. When we come back, our next guest will join us here on the Prep Hoop Circuit Bracket Release Show. We're back here on the Prep Hoop Circuit Bracket Release Show, and joining me now is the man, the myth, the legend in the state of Illinois. That's right, he's very well known. Scott Burgess is on the line, and Scott, the bracket has just been released for 17, 16U, and 15U. There's really a lot to dissect. Let's start with this. What is your favorite opening game? And you can even give me multiple if you have them, but what is your favorite opening game for you personally?
Yeah, I'm going to take one at 17U and one at 16U. In the 17U bracket, Young and Reckless Denard, you talked to Aubrey earlier in the show. You know, they have a deep team led by Devin Davis, a point guard from Westinghouse who is a bucket getter. I just had a college coach actually hit me up within the last 10 minutes about him when they saw the bracket, and to see what he's going to do against maybe the best point guard from the state of Illinois on the Prep Hoop Circuit, Rayshawn Taylor with Gateway, Illinois. It's going to be a great matchup, seeing those two, scoring point guards go head-to-head in the first round. And then 16U, I love this Southwest Jets versus Illinois T-Wolves matchup. Two of the best groups of prospects in the 2021 class, not just one-man star teams. You know, with Southwest Jets, you got Sean Riley, a bouncy power forward, A.J. Smith and Ethan Brown in the backcourt, both bring a little bit of different stuff to the table. Kwani Rudd, elite athlete on the wing from Mount Vernon High School that's really emerging. And then with Illinois T-Wolves, Jaden Lee, one of the best perimeter scorers on the circuit, a top 20 player in the state of Illinois. Cam Mallory and Andrew Johnson, two other high-level wings. And then a Sean Burbridge, who's just that do-it-all junkyard dog power forward that just gets stuff done out there on the court. So I think those are two matchups I can't wait for Friday.
This is the last time, Scott, that we're going to see a lot of these prospects, and it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's saying, hey, we'll see them again in, obviously, the high school season. That being said, with it being the last weekend, give me a prospect that you say, man, I am so excited to see this kid. I saw him in the spring. It's the last weekend I get a chance to see him, and I'm making sure, no matter what, I'm going to catch this game.
Yeah, a couple quick hitters. I would say Caleb Zerlini from the Illinois Bears, one of the best prospects in Southern Illinois, athletic two-guard that can score from multiple levels. Torian Holcomb from QC Ballers. This is a player from the Quad City area that we didn't know a lot about heading into the spring, and he lit it up at multiple tournaments this spring, including averaging almost 40 points in one of the tournaments. We mentioned Rayshawn Taylor, Bo Frerick from Team RWA, one of the better shooting point guards in the state of Illinois, really big-time range. And then a player that hasn't even played on the Prep Hoop Circuit yet, but I'm really looking forward to, is Isaiah Rivera. He's going to be playing with Young and Reckless this upcoming weekend here in Minnesota. He's a top 5 player in the state of Illinois. Joined them after finishing up with Mean Streets. So looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table with his new squad to finish out his AAU career.
Top 5 player, well, hey, you got my attention. I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. Last but not least, give me your bold prediction for the weekend.
I'm going to say an Illinois team will win either the 16U or 17U bracket, and also a 20-plus seed will win one of the regions between the 16 and 17U. I think one thing we've seen throughout this whole spring heading into the finals is there's a lot of parity out there, and it's not always the team with the most talent that wins, and it depends on who gets hot at the right time. So those are going to be my 2 bold predictions.
I like it. You're going strong for the state of Illinois, and plus, that's probably the most bold one you could have given, was the fact that going with a team that could win it, that is in the 20s range or higher. And you're right, we've seen crazy things happen. Peoria Area Elite and their 2 events, I know that they were higher seeds when they first started, but now obviously they have the #1 seed after all of this has come down. So big things, and we're looking forward to your great coverage, Scott, as well as Ryan James and many others on the Prep Hoop Circuit next weekend in Minneapolis. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good one.
That was Scott Burgess there joining us on the line. We really appreciate his time. And we're going to wrap up this show. I've got a few thank yous to give out. Big thank you to Mark Jeffries for producing this whole entire show and the remaining 2 we have today. That's right, we still have 2 left coming up at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Big thank you to Josiah, our graphics coordinator, who has done an absolute phenomenal job with all of the graphics and helping us out, as well as Median Holmes and Andrew Krupke, who both have worked with myself and Nick Carroll on the Prep Hoops event squad, who have helped us get through all of the tournaments and had a great success, and we're looking forward to a big weekend in Minneapolis. Well, until next weekend, for everyone for the Minneapolis region, you can stick around if you would like. We'll start at 2 o'clock for the Grind region, which will be held in Wichita, Kansas, followed by 3 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Pacific time for the Hustle region. But that's going to do it for this show. Thanks for tuning in and watching on PrepHoopCircuit.com.